The Peaceful Mother. Hello and welcome to The Peaceful Mother, where I empower you to go from reactive parenting to proactive parenting, helping you heal old wounding and teaching you how to regulate your nervous system so that you can show up as the peaceful parent that you aspire to be. I'm Emily. I am a parenting coach, a trauma recovery coach, and author of The Angry Mom's Guide to Self-Regulation. You might already know me from my Instagram or Facebook pages. Whether you are new here or not, I am so glad that you decided to click on this video. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share so that we can get this information out to as many parents in need as possible. All right, let's get into this. So today I want to address one of the number one questions that I receive from my followers and my clients, and that is, how in the heck am I supposed to find time to develop a practice and maintain a practice around nervous system regulation techniques when I'm super busy? Like, we are all super busy parents here. And so I totally get it. And the thing is, I developed this practice, my own practice. I got into this work after struggling with my own child, my own dysregulation. And it was, I was already struggling, and then the pandemic broke out. And so here I am with an infant, the middle of a pandemic. I'm completely isolated. My partner had lost his business. So he was, basically working. He was gone before we woke up and got home after we went to bed a lot of times. There wasn't any help for me. I don't live in an area where, we have grandparents and family that can help. So I was totally isolated, and I had to figure out how to do all of this on my own with my daughter always there. My daughter has always been a very high needs child. I call her my barnacle. She was the kind of baby that hated the baby carrier, but needed to be held all of the time by mommy. Nobody else, couldn't be set down, had to be held in my free arms. She really gave me a run for my money. So I had to figure this out, and that is why I'm so excited to share with you what I have learned and how I was able to develop this practice and get into the work that I do now, despite the fact that I didn't have time to myself. So I have 3 main tips that I want to share with you today for finding the time to regulate, to develop a practice around nervous system regulation, or really any self-care, any kind of self-love stuff that you're doing. I don't care if it's reading a book, taking a bath, going for a hike, whatever it might be. We all need to fill our cup. That's something I talk a lot about with my clients and my following as well. And so really developing our practice around nervous system regulation is just kind of one of the many things that we do for self-care. So tip number 1 is you really want to find those little pockets of time throughout your day where you can squeeze it in. Now, we're not talking about setting aside 20 minutes a day to regulate your nervous system and practice this stuff. You don't need that much time. Now, is that ideal? Absolutely. Ideally, you would be doing 5 minutes in the morning, and then 5 minutes at lunch, and then 5 minutes mid-afternoon, and 5 minutes before bed. That's ideal. But, we don't have that time, and we don't live in an ideal world. So even if you just do a few minutes a day, 2 to 5 minutes a day, you are going to see really great results. I promise you. I have, my clients have, it's going to happen. So find the little pockets of time. So what this means is, let's say, my daughter's in the bath. And so I've got a few minutes while she's playing in the bath and I'm sitting there next to her. I can do some breath work. I can do some tongue circles. I can do some of the regulatory techniques in that time. Other things are, a lot of the times when I developed this practice for the first time, when I first started learning this work, my daughter was still young enough that she was breastfeeding and she also was contact napping. So I was literally just glued to the couch for at least an hour out of every day with my daughter asleep on me. Plus we had multiple times throughout the day that I was breastfeeding her. And that was an opportunity for me to, again, do some of these techniques. Do some breath work, do some, different kind of tapping, do different techniques that didn't require me to move my body all around. So that's another kind of pocket of time. So anytime that you can find that you're in the school pickup line and you're sitting in the car, do a couple things. And so again, it doesn't have to take a ton of time, and it doesn't even have to be 2 to 5 minutes consecutively. If you do 30 seconds of something here, and then you do 30 seconds of something later, whatever, but find the pockets of time and utilize them. That is for tip number 1. Tip number 2 is sometimes we just have to give ourselves a few minutes before bed. Now, again, when I really first started doing this work, I often found myself just taking 5 minutes before I went to bed. I, maybe just put my daughter down, finally got some dinner in my belly, got myself ready for bed, and it was like, okay, I didn't find pockets of time all day to practice, or maybe I forgot, or maybe I'm just feeling like I need more. And that was my time to practice my techniques. It's also when I would find time to journal and really reflect about kind of how my day went with my daughter, how my day went with, my experiences of dysregulation, being triggered. Did I snap at my child? What can I learn from that today? What kind of unmet needs did I have that day? Really reflecting on those things. So if bedtime right before bed is the time that you have to do it, utilize it. Of course, it's more ideal for us to do this for a few minutes in the morning or a few minutes in the middle of the day. But again, we don't live in an ideal world and we're busy, so you take what you can get. All right, and tip number 3 is practice with your children. This is a big, big way that we not only develop our own practice, but we connect with our children and we model this for our children. If we want our children to learn how to really connect with their bodies and connect with their emotions and learn how to identify when they're dysregulated and what they might need and actually regulate through it, we have to model that for them. So if we're only practicing when our children are not present, then they're not going to have it modeled. They're not going to see, what we are doing. And they might recognize like, oh, my parents aren't snapping at me as much, they're not yelling as much or whatever the situation. But and that's wonderful, but it's even more wonderful when they can see the work that you're doing firsthand, because that lets them know, hey, if my parents can grow in that way, then what kind of growth and possibility is available to me in my life? So practice with your kids. And this can be done even with young children. My daughter was 2 years old. She had just turned 2 when I first started learning somatic work. And I would practice with her because I still, the pandemic wasn't as crazy then, but I was still a stay-at-home mom. I didn't really have time away from her. And so I practiced with her. So even today, she loves practicing. She would tell you, she's like, I love self-regulation. I love neurosomatic work. She just loves it. And so we just take a few minutes out of the day and it's like play. It's just, and I let her come up with her own techniques and we come up with silly affirmations to do together. My daughter used to love when we first started doing tapping together. She was 2 years old at the time and her affirmation was always, I am dog, I am frog. So let your kids get involved, get silly, allow for it to be something that connects the two of you. And if your children are not interested in joining you, that's fine. This should always be a child-led situation if you're going to have your child involved. But it doesn't mean that you can't just practice with them right there. Maybe there's situations where, I would be kind of playing with my daughter or reading books to my daughter, and then she kind of wandered off into the corner and started kind of doing some independent stuff. And I'm like, okay, here's my pocket and I'm in front of my daughter, so I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity. And she might be like, what are you doing, mommy? And then I let her know, oh, well, I'm doing somatic work. I'm doing neurosomatic work. I'm regulating my nervous system. Do you want to join me? And maybe she says yes, maybe she says no, maybe she laughs at me and thinks it's funny, whatever. The whole point is that you are practicing in the presence of your children and getting them involved when they are willing. All right, I hope this video was helpful for you. Please let me know in the comments which of those ideas you think is most accessible to you. Maybe all of them, hopefully all of them. I don't see why not. But let me know in the comments what's working for you. And also, just a big reminder for everybody, especially if you're new, I love hearing from you guys. So please let me know if you have any requests for videos that you want in the future. This was a request from some clients of mine, some followers of mine. So again, please put it out there. My whole last series on different regulation techniques for different emotions was because of you guys. And I appreciate that so much because I want to put content out there that you guys really find valuable. So I appreciate your comments, your feedback, and your support. Thank you.